It started on a peaceful Sunday morning, the kind where you just want to sit on your porch, sip your coffee, and enjoy the sound of birds. But instead of birds, I heard the grumbling noise of machinery. Confused, I stepped outside and froze. A group of workers was unloading gravel, orange cones, and even a private parking sign on my front lawn. My neatly mowed, green lawn that I took pride in. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe they got the wrong address. So I walked over and shouted, "Hey, what's going on here?" One of the men shrugged and said, "Talk to your HOA president. She said we're supposed to pave this area today." And that's when I knew Karen was behind this. Karen was our neighborhood's HOA president, a woman who treated the community like her personal kingdom. She fined people for having garden gnomes, demanded permission before anyone painted their house, and somehow believed every blade of grass within a mile radius belonged to her. I marched to her house immediately. She opened the door, holding a clipboard like always, wearing sunglasses even though we were standing in the shade. "Karen," I said, trying to keep calm, "why are construction workers tearing up my yard?" "Oh, don't be dramatic," she replied in her fake sweet tone. "We're simply creating a community parking zone for HOA-approved vehicles. Your lawn is the most accessible space." "Accessible?" I snapped. "It's my property. You can't just turn it into a parking lot." She smirked. "Actually, as per HOA guidelines, and used land within shared access zones can be temporarily repurposed. You'd know that if you read the handbook." That was complete nonsense. My land was privately owned, and I had the deed to prove it. But before I could argue further, a truck dumped gravel across my front yard. My lush green lawn was now a gray, dusty mess. I called the county office right away, but since it was Sunday, I had to wait until the next morning to file an official complaint. Karen strutted by in the evening, proudly admiring her project, telling neighbors how this would increase the neighborhood's value. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood by the window, watching as a few cars, including Karen's, actually parked on my lawn like it was their new driveway. But I had a plan. And by morning, Karen's little parking empire was going to crumble, literally. By sunrise, I was already on the phone with the county zoning department. After explaining everything, the illegal gravel, the sign, the so-called HOA project, the officer on the line asked me to email photos and property records. Within an hour, they called back. "Sir," the official said, "that's definitely private property. And what your HOA president authorized is a zoning violation. We're dispatching an inspection team today." I couldn't help but grin. Finally, some justice. By 10 a.m., a white county truck pulled up, and 3 officials stepped out, clipboards in hand, reflective vests on, ready to work. Karen, of course, appeared out of nowhere like she had been waiting for them. "Oh, wonderful," she said with her fake smile. "You must be here to approve our new community parking project." The lead inspector, a tall man named Mr. Harris, raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, we're here because we received a complaint of unauthorized land alteration on private property." Karen's smile flickered. "Oh, that must be a misunderstanding. The HOA has the right to maintain common areas, and this space is part of our beautification plan." Mr. Harris looked down at his map, then up at me. "According to county records, this entire section is owned by Mr. Roberts," he said, gesturing toward me. "It's not HOA land." Karen laughed nervously. "Oh, that can't be right. We had verbal consent." "Verbal consent doesn't override property law," he interrupted firmly. I watched as her face turned red. "Ma'am," Mr. Harris continued, "you've authorized construction on land you don't own. That's trespassing and property damage. We'll be documenting this and notifying the enforcement division." Karen's confidence melted. "You can't be serious," she stammered. "It was for the good of the neighborhood." "The neighborhood," Mr. Harris said dryly, "is not above the law." They spent the next half hour taking photos, measuring the area, and noting every inch of gravel spread across my lawn. I could hear one of the inspectors muttering about fines and demolition orders. Karen tried to defend herself the whole time, waving her clipboard and demanding to see the rules. The inspectors ignored her. Finally, Mr. Harris turned to me. "Mr. Roberts, we'll issue a restoration order by tomorrow morning. The county will handle removal and billing will go to the HOA, or specifically, whoever authorized the construction." I thanked them, relief washing over me. Karen stood there speechless for once, her jaw tight. eyes burning with embarrassment. As the officials left, she glared at me and hissed, "You're going to regret this." I smiled back. "No, Karen, you are." The next morning, the roar of a county bulldozer echoed through the neighborhood, and Karen's private parking lot was about to meet its end. The next morning, I woke up to the deep rumble of heavy machinery. It wasn't a nightmare. It was justice arriving in steel and diesel. A massive county bulldozer rolled down our street, flanked by 2 county trucks and a work crew. Neighbors peeked from their windows, some even stepping onto their porches to see what was happening. Word had spread fast. The county was here to undo whatever Karen had built. Karen, of course, came storming out of her house in her pink bathrobe, clutching her clipboard like a security blanket. "Stop! Stop right there!" she yelled, waving her arms as the bulldozer came to a halt in front of my lawn. The lead operator stepped out, calm and professional. "Ma'am, we have an official order to remove this unauthorized construction. You'll need to stand back. This is HOA property." Karen shrieked, "You can't touch it. We spent our money on that gravel." "Correction," the operator said, reading from his paperwork. "This property belongs to Mr. Roberts. The HOA had no jurisdiction to build here. The county is reclaiming it to its original condition." I stood at my porch, arms folded, trying to suppress a grin. "Don't worry, Karen," I called out. "They'll make sure it's nice and clean when they're done." The look she gave me could have melted steel. The operator climbed back into the bulldozer, started it up, and lowered the blade. The moment that steel met gravel, the sound was glorious, loud, grinding, final. Karen screamed, "You can't do this. You're destroying HOA property." A nearby inspector simply replied, "Ma'am, you destroyed his property first." The bulldozer pushed through the gravel, scooping it up and dumping it into a waiting truck. The private parking sign was ripped out next, tossed aside like trash. The workers leveled the soil underneath, flattening it until my lawn was recognizable again, albeit a little scarred. A few neighbors even clapped quietly, pretending they were just appreciating the hard work. But everyone knew what they were really celebrating: Karen's defeat. As the final load of gravel was hauled away, the inspector approached me. "Mr. Roberts, restoration will be completed by this afternoon. The invoice for all of this is being sent to the HOA, and from what I understand, that means the president will personally answer for it." Karen stood frozen, her face pale as chalk. "You can't bill me for this," she snapped. The inspector didn't even look up. "Ma'am, you signed the authorization forms. The county always bills the authorizer." For the first time, Karen had no words. By noon, the bulldozer rumbled away, leaving behind a cleared patch of earth and a humbled HOA president. But I had a feeling this battle wasn't quite over yet. For a brief, peaceful moment, I thought the chaos was finally over. My lawn was flat again, the gravel was gone, and Karen's private parking lot was nothing but a bad memory. But Karen wasn't the kind of person to admit defeat. 2 days later, I received a letter from the HOA. It was an official notice, claiming I had violated community aesthetics by having an unmaintained lawn area. They demanded I resod the front yard within 7 days, or face daily fines. I almost laughed. After illegally turning my yard into a parking lot, Karen was now fining me because it didn't look pretty anymore. So, instead of getting angry, I gathered every photo, email, and county document I had, including the demolition order with Karen's signature on it. Then I forwarded everything to the HOA board and copied the county compliance office on the same email. Within a few hours, my phone rang. It was one of the HOA board members, Mr. Thompson, a quiet man who usually stayed in Karen's shadow. "Mr. Roberts," he said nervously, "we just saw your email, and, we had no idea she authorized construction on private property." "Well," I replied calmly, "now you do. And I suggest you handle it before I take it to small claims court." By that evening, an emergency HOA meeting was scheduled. The entire board showed up at the community clubhouse, including Karen, who looked like she was ready to explode. She tried to open the meeting with her usual smug tone, but the other members cut her off. Mr. Thompson spoke first. "Karen, the county confirmed. You acted without approval and falsified a community project form. You violated HOA bylaws and caused damages." Karen slammed her clipboard down. "I was trying to help this neighborhood. Another board member shook her head. You cost us over $6,000 in county fees and cleanup. You're removed as president effective immediately. The room went silent. Karen's jaw dropped. You can't fire me, she shouted. But they could, and they did. The vote was unanimous. A week later, I received a written apology from the HOA, signed by the new interim president. They also covered the cost of resodding my lawn. Karen, meanwhile, was hit with personal fines for property damage and forgery. The last time I saw her, she was packing boxes into her car, the same one she used to park on my grass. As I watched her drive away, I smiled and took a deep breath. My lawn was green again, peaceful again, and finally Karen-free. Justice had rolled in on a bulldozer.